Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Ooh. What's that? Oh, that's why that's so slow. Turn that one off. Bum, bum, bum. Just finishing setting up because I'm not organised today. Hey, Sarah. Bum, bum, bum. Make sure that's live. Yes, it is. There we go. Hey, Gwen. Alrighty. Oh. We are set up and ready to do the sewing things. Oh my lord. So hey Katie, Jen, Marianne. What I was saying. Oh. Coffee hasn't kicked in yet, sorry. Oh, I'm off camera. Why am I off camera? There we go. Sewing time. Yes, I'm already set up here, ready, because I didn't want to be messing about with camera angles and all that kind of crap. So we're all zoomed in and focused and hey girls. Okay, so I already had all of the materials for this. My hands are dry. Hold that second. Hold that thought. I need to just grab my hand cream. Just hold that thought for a second. Oh. 1 second. Here we go. Get another bottle of this so we can have one on each desk. Okay. Yes, everything I had for this project I already owned, with the exception of a zip that was long enough, because for this particular one I realised I do have zips, and I do have chunky white zips, amazingly enough. But they're all the kind of ones that would go on the top of a pencil case, so like this length. But with these, the zip goes around and down. And, yeah, I don't like dry hands at all. I have eczema, so dry hands are bad anyway because they get caught on stuff. But dry hands when you're touching paper or sewing stuff, ugh. I hate it. Hate it. But this stuff is very good, so. And I might as well leave my rings off because they get caught on everything when I'm sewing. Yeah, so I bought a zip. It's a 14-inch zip, which is what Becca on Grain Creative, which is the tutorial that we're following. All details in the description below. This is part 2. I did part 1 last week. Now I bought a zip that opens at the bottom. See, it's a cardigan zip, because I thought if I sew it and it ends up a little bit wonky, I can undo the zip. Well, first of all, I can undo the zip, which will make sewing it a lot easier. But second, if it ends up a little bit wonky and not matching on either side with the material, I can undo the zip and shift it down. So I thought that would be a good idea. And it's a plastic teeth zip, but it's super chunky. Look how chunky it is. It's way chunkier than most people have been using. Hey Zen. So that's that. I've also got in my trusty little book. Put my pen somewhere. I'll put my pen next to my phone so I know where it is. In my little book, I watched her video again. And somewhere in here I have, there's the first half of it. I should be able to get that bit done today, which is the She sews in the zip first. I might do the pockets first. It's like warming up, you know. Sorry about the state of my nails. I cut them last night and now all my nail varnish is chipped off. She sews in the zip. Then she did hemming the pockets. Then she did putting the pockets onto the base layers. And then she does the exterior front pocket, putting all that together. And then she puts the whole thing together, which is the easy part because there's only 2 pieces left by that point. Sorry, baby, you trying to get out? There you go, sweetie. Also, she's got a 1/2 inch seam allowance, which I didn't realise. It's standard here to have a 1/4 inch seam, so, but 1/2 inch makes sense if you do this as she was doing, as most Americans seem to do, which is deal with all the dangles and fraying with a 1/2 inch seam allowance and then trim it down afterwards. We don't do that here. We pink it in the first place and then we do a 1/4 inch seam. So I don't know, I might just do whatever lines up on my machine. Because I don't think it'll make that much difference. As long as everything's the same width, it should be okay. So yeah, we've got hemming the pockets to do, lining up the bottoms and sewing the straight pockets, which seems fairly easy, and putting in the zip. Big zippers are more forgiving. I just like chunky zips. And I like the sound a plastic zip makes, which I know is weird, but is that not a really satisfying sound? Plus, if they start sticking, you just put WD-40 on them, or a bit of oil of some sort, and voila, sorted. Whereas metal zips, you gotta find a lead pencil or a graphite pencil, a full graphite pencil. It's hard to find these days. Okay, so I'm going to skip the bit about the zip for now, and I'm going to go straight to, so this is the zip. I know how to do the zip and it's easy enough, but I feel like I need to warm up with my sewing machine before I start sewing something complicated, because I don't sew all the time. So how many times can I say sew? Should we play sew bingo? Every time I say sew, take a drink. And see how drunk you are by the end of the stream. Oh. I'm going to skip to 3, which is hemming the pockets inside and iron. So hem the pockets and finger squash. Hem the pockets for the outside. Double hem and roll 1/4 and 1/4. Well, I don't need to do that for all of my pockets because mine are selvages. I don't need to do the 1/4 and 1/4. I can just do half and roll it over. Oh, no, she used the 1/2 inch seam allowance, but then she trimmed it down afterwards to get rid of all the fuzzies. She allowed a 1/2 inch seam allowance to allow for error, and then she cut it off afterwards. Whereas we don't do that. We do the pinking first, and then we don't need to trim it down. So we use 1/4 inch seam. Anyway, the other thing I have to do is before I try and do the thick layers, I have to swap to a 90 sewing needle. Now, I don't know what I've got in here, but my grandmother was a quilter, so there's no way there isn't a size 90 needle in here somewhere. I don't know how you find the numbers on those. I think that one's a 90, actually. It feels like a 90. Oh, we got a full set here. Here we go. 70, 80 and 90. So I've got plenty of 90s. Yeah, that's a 90 as well. That's the same thickness as that one. Oh, and I've got another 90 there. Oh, that's cool. I could put that in there then, so it doesn't get lost. Okay. That's that solved. I don't know what these are. That one's broken. Oh, and there's a double. Ooh. Ooh. Look at that one. It's a double needle. Double needle. I do not know what that's for. What's a double needle? Well, I assume it's for sewing two lines at the same time, right? But what would you use a double stitch for? Like trackline stitches. What would you use those for? Heavy materials like curtains or jeans or something like that? Well, some of the those are fine. I might as well put those in there as well. I don't know what size they are, but so yeah, we get to change our needle as well today if we get to the thick bit. So that should be fun, because I've never done that before. Yeah, this is very cool. Where's my lid? There it is. No, she left a 1/2 inch seam for everything because she did do a French rolled seam on several bits. So it's 1/4 and 1/4. Oh, you use a double needle for hemming? Oh, okay. Weird. Never heard of it. Never heard of a double needle, but my gran had one, so apparently they were used for something. Some of the seams are 1/4 and then 1/4, which is the French rolled seams. But remember, this is a beginner's tutorial, so for beginners, it's a lot easier to just say, give a 1/2 inch seam allowance, because most beginners would be a lot happier with a 1/2 inch seam allowance and then cut off what's left. And if you start introducing, well, this is a 1/4 inch and this is a 1/2 inch and this is this and this is that, then you make it more complicated. So if you just say, oh, it's a 1/2 inch seam allowance all over, and then some of them get rolled over and the ones that don't get cut off, for a beginner, that makes a lot more sense. So here we go. The pockets inside and outside, the big pockets, need to have the rolled seams. So let's find the pocket bits. Pockets, front exterior flat pocket. That's one of the ones that gets a seam allowance. No, a roll. Side bottom, pleated pocket. This also gets a folded edge. Now I didn't this one doesn't have a salve edge because I thought pleating it with a salve edge might be a little bit too stiff, but it's also pinked all the way along, so I think what I'll do is just sew a 1/2 inch on this one and then maybe do a decorative stitch to hold the flap down. It's not going to fray. It's the whole point of pinking it. Double fold and stitch hem this edge only. So that's those pockets. And that's the base layer. Okay. Ba 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 ba. Dun 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 dun. Do I know what I'm doing? What do my hair has like? You will be able to see in a minute, because when I switch the machine on, the light comes on automatically. But I don't have the machine on all the time because either I or Maddie tend to stand on the accelerator. So you work with the lightweight fabrics. Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, these are not very heavy. They're medium. They're not even denim weight. This canvas is extremely lightweight. Now what I need to do is find my pins. What did I do with my pins last week? Because they were here. I don't think I moved them anywhere. So, where are my pins? Oh, stop it! I need my pins, guys. Where are my pins at? I know I put them back in my bag when I was finished. I put them back inside the plastic bag when I was finished, because that lid comes off. And then I put them God, it's dark on this side of the room. Where the hell are my pins? We're not going to get very far without pins, guys. I thought they were on the table. Oh, got him. Here we go. Cooking with gas. The Arteza brush pens. Did you get the blue ones, the green ones, or the red ones? I didn't clean up. I put everything away in the box where all my sewing and scissors are. And then I spent 10 minutes earlier looking for these, which I also put in my sewing box over here. Okay. Let's do this thing. Okay, double fold and stitch hem this edge only. So the top of this bit, the flat bit on all of these, needs to be folded down and stitched. But I think the inside pockets need to be double folded, because it'll give them a bit more stiffness, I guess, when you put in. Oh, this fabric molts like crazy. When you put them in, this is going to be really floppy, isn't it? So I don't want them to go like that. So I think these need to be double folded. Is that a 1/2 inch? Looks it to me. You got all of them? Oh, cool. I like the red one. The red ones are very, very wet, which is perfect for watercolour. The blue ones are nothing to write home about. They're no different to anything else like the blue ones I've used. They're almost exactly the same as the one that comes with the koi. The green ones are more comfortable to hold, in my opinion, but they're not as good in terms of actually being water brushes. I tend to use them as water reservoirs. Did it come with all the regular brushes as well? Because I think there's only 15, 16 water brushes half off. Wow, all 96 for... Hey Chloe. Okay. Might as well start with these. I don't really care about whether it's ½ inch, ¼ inch, whatever, so I'm just going to do it and sew it. Oh, that's too far up. Let's do it in the middle. Oh, that'll hold with just that clip, so that'll do. I'm folding it according to the circles on the fabric, so there. Okay. Should have folded it twice before I put the clip on. Chat is going really fast, so I'm not sure I can keep up with it at the moment and do this. So if you need to ask a question, put it in capitals, otherwise I won't see it. Okay. There we go. So if we've got a ½ inch seam allowance, that means ½ inch of this as well is forgiving. So that's useful because that means you don't have to be right at the edge to sew in. This we like. Okay, where's my pedal gone? Where's my accelerator? There he is. Oh. Doesn't need to be a 4. Let's move it to a 7 for now. Yeah, let's move it to a 7. Oh, that's on the left. Okay, hang on. 5, 6 and 7 are the same. I just found out how to move my needle. Oh my god. So, you know how some machines have a click that you can move the needle across? You don't do that with this one. It's got a push thing on the button. So 5, 6 and 7 are the same. 5 is left, 6 is middle, 7 is right. So as you move the thing, the needle's moving sideways. Huh, cool. Okay, we'll use number 5 then, because I want it down the middle. That's going to be useful for later. Oh, it's all bunched up on the edge. Hang on, it got caught. That was my fault. I went back too far back over the fabric. My fault. Belay that, belay that, belay that. Okay, let's try that one again. Where's my clippers? Here we go. I messed that up because I reversed back too far and the fabric got caught down under the needle. So let's not do that. Let's start a bit further out. Having said that I didn't need to start right at the beginning, I then did. Excellent. Nice one. I'm just going to leave that bit. Doesn't matter. That's going to be a bit further in this time. Okay. I went too many steps back. Oh yeah, this stuff's cut on the bias, so it's pulling weird. I remember. Maddie, what the hell snout travel noise are you making down there? Scene one. There's the cutter. There's a cutter on my machine. Scene one. French hemmed. Complete. Now with these inside bits and pieces, because they're all going to be hemmed in, they're all going to be sewn into, like, this seam will be zigzag, crisscrossed by another seam there, and another seam there, and another seam there. I'm not going to bother sewing the ends in. I only did that on the bit that needed it. Ba 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 ba. One interior pocket. I'm pretty sure I'm rolling it more than ½ an inch, but it really doesn't matter, because I wouldn't put anything big in these little tiny inside pockets anyway. Well, I would, but the idea is I would put stuff like my sprocket with its papers and leads, you know, just stuff that I didn't want hanging around in the bottom of the bag. So I don't care, but this is bright pink and I won't be keeping it anyway. So, oh, I did spend a little bit more. I bought 2 more zips to go for my black one, and I bought some interfacing because that fabric that I've got for the other one is 2 layers of cotton, and I don't think that's really going to be up to snuff. So I did buy some iron-on interfacing. Cost me a whole £1.99. So altogether, I bought 3 zips for £2.49, and I spent, was it £1.99 or £2.99? Let's err on the side of caution and say £2.99 for the interfacing, but I think it was £1.99, and I got it all off eBay. Because I was going to support my local sewing shop, but the day I went to my local sewing shop, it was shut. So yeah, I'm all for supporting local businesses, but when you close 2 days a week, you can't expect people to buy from you. Because having paid for the parking, it would have cost me twice as much as what I needed, and they would have been more expensive as well. So yeah, I love to support my local shops, but not when it's going to cost me 3 times as much as I can get it on eBay. Nope, this is the one that biases the opposite way. This seam's not going to be straight. Walk it forwards a bit. Come on. What are you stuck on? There we go. Yeah, that one's not straight, but that is the one that pulls the bias funny, so it went a little bit wonky. That's going to be on the inside, who cares? And we're not going for perfection anyway, we're going for... I sewed this all with a sewing machine. Ooh! Whoops. Good job that was empty. I got something in my eye, hang on. Okay. So this is the ones that have got the salve edge. I need to double check which is the front and which is the back, although I don't think it really matters on this fabric. I'm just going to trim off this ridiculous frayed edge. They never used to have this. It used to be a sharp bound edge. Now there's all this fringing everywhere. Why is that? What happened to the nice straight cotton edges without all the fringy mess? Did they just get lazy? What do I mean by on the bias? Oh, well, fabric, as you know, is woven crisscross, right? Like that. Kind of, you know, crisscross. So when you try and stretch it this way, minimal stretch, because it's going that way, it can't stretch because it's got threads holding it together like that. Same this way. You try and stretch it, it won't do it. If you try it diagonally, boing. So this is cut so that the threads lay that way, so it won't stretch. Which means this top pocket and everything, even though it's got stuff going in and out of it, it's not going to give any. It's not going to give at all. It's not going to stretch. But the pink fabric, the whole sample was cut crisscrossed like that. So the pink fabric actually stretches quite a bit, which is good actually, because it means it's easier to get it to fit. Well, I know fabric's made more cheaply these days, but seriously, it's all done by machine. There is a machine that sews the edges. Look, you can see it. So the hard edge is still there. There's just all this fringing as well. So why haven't they cut it off? It doesn't make any sense. It just suddenly changed. And fairly recently as well, as far as I can tell. There we go. That's better. Without the fringing, it's much better. Okay, I'm going to put the upper light on because it's like the black hole of Calcutta in here today. It's so dark outside. So this has a salve edge. Oh, there's the... Right. When it's woven, right, these holes, this salve edge is where it's put through the holders. So imagine lots and lots of little pins holding all the vertical fabric in, right? You can see on the pinholes, those go down and these come up, okay? So imagine if you take a piece of paper and put a pin through it, right? The bottom of the paper, the pinhole will go down into the bottom. The top will look nice and neat, the bottom will go down into it, and it'll be slightly raised when you turn the paper over. So that's how you know which is the right side and wrong side of your fabric. That's the wrong side of the fabric, even though they look identical. So I'm just going to sew this down according to the holes. Just going to roll it so the holes are just below the fold on this side. Oh, where's the holes? There we are. So I don't need to roll this one like I did with the insides. I can just sew it. And since this is going to be on the outside, how about we do the bobbin shows on the back, right? So how about if we do a zigzag stitch on the outside pockets where it's going to show? That might be quite nice. I do like my decorative stitches. Let's do a number 9 because it's not going to take any weight. Forward 1, reverse 1. Now my bobbin is slightly lighter, so I should get contrast stitching on the outside pocket, if my theory is correct. Bit too fast there. Hang on. Let's not get carried away. Oh, my pedal's shifted. There we go. Truth, it's not very straight, but that's okay. Contrast stitching. It's not very neat. The tension's a little off, but it looks pretty, so I don't really care. See? Oh, hang on. Focus. Here we go. So you can see the top thread is pulling through a little bit. I don't know if that's supposed to be like that on the reverse. I can't remember. I thought it was supposed to be the same on both sides, but it doesn't matter. It looks pretty. So there we go. So the outside pocket will have a little bit of contrast stitching on it. Oh. I don't need those right now. Let's use the little ones. So that is the back exterior pocket, I think. No, the front back exterior pocket. Or is it the front exterior pocket? I don't even know. Is there one pocket on the front and one pocket on the back? Tall pocket. short pocket. Oh, that's right, because that pocket is bigger. Why are these two pockets the same size? Oh, because that's one, and that one goes to that one, I think. I don't know. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't really matter if the pockets are all the same size, so. I know mine. See the edging is already there. A fabric breathing mask. Well, it's easy. You just get a bandana, dude. Is the coronavirus that bad in America? Or is everybody just panicking because that's what Americans do? How to sew toilet paper for Australians? Don't. Is that a Australian joke? Because if it is, I don't get it. All my pockets seem to be the same height, and I'm not quite sure why or how. It's not that bad, people are just panicking. The Japanese have been wearing masks purely out of respect for each other and not coughing all over their neighbours on the train for decades. I really don't understand. Australians are panicking and buying lots of toilet paper. Why? No, I don't think anybody's panicking here. Nobody cares. British people don't panic. We buy an extra loaf of bread. That's about it. A lot of people can't afford not to go to work. Right, of course, yeah. Because you not only have to pay for being sick, you don't get paid for being off sick. Whereas we don't pay for being off sick and we get our standard salary and then statutory sick pay. So, and yet somehow all these Americans keep voting against having medical stuff. They would rather pay through the nose and not be able to take a day off sick ever. It's a bit crazy, really. You have to wonder where their brain's at to think that that's a better way of life. Well, the Japanese are panicking because it's in the country next door. I'm pretty sure if Wales had a mass pandemic of an extremely contagious flu, then England would be panicking. You know? There's a lot of traffic across those borders. Bread and milk are the official time to panic foods. Yeah, exactly. I think I can pretty much say that Britain will start to panic when somebody says, okay, there's enough cases of coronavirus for us to stop food deliveries. When people can't get a curry, that's when they'll start to panic. Because that's literally what we do here. Oh, electricity's out. That's okay. We'll just order from a curry house a bit further away. We'll just get in the car and go get a pizza. Oh, the electricity's out. We can't make a cup of tea. Let's go down the pub. And we had a couple of suspected cases in Stoke the other day. Some kids had come back from a half-term Italian trip to Italy, and 3 of them came down with flu-like symptoms. But straight away they said they weren't even in the area where it had been picked up at the time, so it was very unlikely that they actually had it. They quarantined them at the hospital while they did a few blood tests, but they said it wasn't any problem. They were just going to send them home. So basically they're just quarantining anybody who suspects they might have, and then that's it. I don't know if we've had any reported cases here. I haven't really been keeping up with the news. I don't watch the news. I don't have a TV. 5 random facts about me. I've never owned a television. Coffee and pizza dough. That would be me. Oh, Mara, I'm coming to yours. As long as I've got coffee and either something like rice and tinned tomatoes, because I can live off rice and tinned tomatoes with various herbs for centuries, pizza dough and some fresh veg and cheese, or something like pasta and mayonnaise, and, you know, if I have to, something like tuna, because I don't like fish, but I will eat tuna if I have to. As far as fish goes, it's the least offensive when you need to get the right proteins. I can pretty much... I don't need a lot of food. I'm not one of those people who goes out for Christmas and goes panic buying loads of food. I don't tend to eat special stuff. My special Christmas dinner this year was, sod it, I'm not cooking, I'm ordering a pizza. Actually, no, I had Chinese for Christmas this year. Dog food, yeah. But let's face it, if all else fails, the dogs can eat rice with me. Because unlike cats, absolutely, you would have to stock up on cat food. Or at least fish, or something, some kind of meat. Because cats are carnivores. Dogs are omnivores. Dogs can and will eat anything and can survive perfectly happy off anything for months at a time. So the dogs would just eat rice with me or pizza. Mayo and sour cream. Oh yeah, I love mayo and sour cream. Mayonnaise, sour cream, yogurt and cheese is the main reason why I could never ever be vegan again. Because I'm sorry, the only people who think that vegan cheese tastes like actual cheese are people who've been vegan for so long they've forgotten what cheese tastes like. And I only made it to the 3-year mark, and then I was like, no, I've got to have blooming cheese. I'm not doing this anymore. So now I just don't buy mass-produced stuff. And honestly, the only thing I miss is fish fingers. Although I noticed that the Hull factory, is it Skegness? Skelmersdale, somewhere up near Hull is our main fisheries place. They do the Captain Birdseye stuff in the UK, and they've started doing organic fish fingers. I'm not sure what organic means. I need to find that out in terms of fish. I mean, technically they're all organic. They come from the sea, right? But I don't know. I need to find out. Fish fingers with cheese melted on top. Oh yeah, in a sandwich with pickle or brown sauce. You dislike all dairy. Yeah, I don't like red meat. The only red meat I ever liked was bacon. And occasionally I'll have a bacon sandwich if I'm really, really craving it, and I have been for weeks. But other than that, I don't eat red meat. But I've never really eaten red meat. The worst thing you can put in front of me is like a lamb chop or something. I'm like, no. Or a steak. I don't know how anybody can eat a steak. Ugh. That was not a good noise. I hope that wasn't my needle breaking. Oh no. It just got caught on something. Now you're hungry. Yeah, I haven't had lunch. I should have had lunch or got snacks. But I didn't. Oh, okay. So that's most of the pockets done. 2 internal, 3 external. We're cooking with gas. Front interior flat pocket. Oh, that's that one. This is the long pocket at the front. Back exterior pocket. Okay. Let's figure out which of these is which again, shall we? I'm folding my pattern down so I find out which one's the right size. I'm a genius, I'm telling you. Front exterior flat. Front exterior flat. There we go. That's that one. One exterior fabric. There we go. Back exterior. Oh, that's the 2 and 2. Okay. There's the 2. And there's the 2. Excellent. And of course, the reason this one looks the same size as that pocket is because I haven't folded this one down yet. Doofus. Was that not flaming obvious? You're such a wally. Double fold and stitch. I don't think I need to double fold on this either, because it's pinked. But it is the pleated pocket, so it will have more give. So you'll actually see the interiors of the pockets on this one. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. This is what we're going to do. So this one, okay, where's the inside? I think that's the inside. So this one, I'm going to only fold it down halfway. I think it's about there. So I want it to be over that way, so I need a number 5 straight stitch. There we go. And that's going to go there. Ooh! That was very fast. What's going on there? My pedal must have moved. Slow down! 30 miles an hour, okay? Let's stick with it. Whoops, skipping. Stop. I messed that up. Oh, it's not too bad. It'll be all right. This is where it gets tricky, because this machine requires you to be right-handed in order to do any embroidery stitches. Pretty, right? The decorative stitching takes away from the fact that this is a bit wonky at the end, I think. A lot of that's going to be sewn in anyway, so it's only going to be wonky for a little bit. And then a bit of this is going to be pleated, so I don't think you're actually going to see that bit there, to be honest. Or at that end. But that will hold down that, you see, because that's pinked, it's not going to fray. But every time you open the pocket, because it's going to fold down a little bit, you'll see the inside. But that means it's got stitching on both sides now. I think my tension's a little off because I'm getting top stitching showing on the back, which I don't think is what it's supposed to be doing. But I don't know enough about tension to start messing right now, so I'm just going to leave it alone. I don't really care if you can see the stitching on the back, and you can only really see it because it's 2 different colours. So, but I do like that's got, so when it's pleated and it folds down and you can see what's in the pocket, it still looks nice and neat on the inside, and this won't lift up. And then that looks really cute on the outside. I like that. Alright, so now what we've got to do is instructions the second. Let me get my pen. Here we go. Okay, hem pockets inside and iron. Done. Hem pockets outside and iron. Done. Double hem and roll, quarter inch, sew wrong side up. Yep, I did that. Probably should have seen that beforehand. Okay, so now we're on to number 4. Line up bottoms and base layers for internal pockets. Based inside seam allowance. Why do you need to baste stitch it? Oh, I suppose when you're sewing all the multiple layers together, it's going to be useful. Okay, we'll tack it. I don't have a base stitch, so I'm just going to tack it. It's quicker and easier. So inside we've got 1 pocket on both one side and 2 pockets on the other. Nice and easy. So inside pockets. Maddie, stop making that really gross noise. Inside pockets. Base layers. Yeah, we're not pinning those together. We've got to sew the pockets on. So that was a waste of time. I'm sorry, I'm not keeping up with chat because there's so much going on at the moment. But Cody seems to be keeping everybody chatting, so I'll leave it in Cody's hands. Okay, so that's my Maddie. Ah! No, 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 no! Get off the pedal! You dork! Come on, this way. That's why I don't normally leave my machine turned on. I got lazy. Now this is going to be a mess. Okay. Let's just... Hell's bells, Maddie. Can you tell I've done this before? See, this is what happens. Thanks for that, babe. Much appreciated. I must remember to turn the machine off. Chaos, yeah. Never work with children and animals. Okay. She tried to get out the wrong side of the table and stood on the thing. where were we? Back pockets, external base layers, external pockets. There we go. Okay, so we've got to where's me snip? I've gone into Jack Sparrow speak now. Where's the thump? There's the snip there. Line those up. There we go. This is another reason for having a 1/2 inch seam allowance, it occurs to me. It's not going to be long enough. Yeah, this thing keeps sliding about. I need to get one that fits my machine, I think. This is the arm for my little machine, my baby machine. I need to get one that actually fits my big machine. Because being a lefty, this thing is so useful. Okay, Why have I got Taylor Swift going around my head, and can somebody please get rid of it? In the video, she does do this by sewing machine, but I don't have a basting stitch, and I'm quicker at doing it like this, so that's why I'm doing this bit by hand. But I am literally only tacking these in place so that we don't need pins. So I don't feel bad about doing this bit by hand. It's not part of the final piece, it's not going to be there. I'm just holding everything in place. I think that's fine. I would like, if possible, to get all 4 of these pockets on the base and get the zip put in today. I'm not sure if that's going to be possible, but we'll give it a try. Voila. Okay, so what I now need to do is mark a line between those 2 points with my ruler. I don't have my ruler. Hang on, 1 second. 1 second. Belay that, belay that. Oh, back in a minute. Oh, hi baby. Oh. Sitting in Mommy's chair. Are you comfy there? She's doing much comf in Mommy's other chair. Much comf. Okay. So we need to sew a 1/2 and 1/2 pocket from there to there, which is that line. You can't see that, but I can. It's white chalk. Dogs aren't under here, I can move my pedal. That helps a bit. Alright, so we've got to sew up the middle to separate the pocket. And I think starting at the bottom would be a better idea, because if we start at the bottom down here, the tack stitch will be inside the seam. Turn the machine on, that will help. It's still on zigzag. 5. Check your stitch. There we go. That'll be inside the seam, so nobody will see it. Doesn't matter. When you get to the end of this bit, you need to make sure that this tack at the end is a really good tack, and that you go back over the whole thing, because obviously that's where the most stress on the pocket is going to be, right? So what I'm going to do is just finish that bit with a hand loop. Could do with putting a magnet down here to hold my pins and sewing threads and things. So I'm going to pull that through. Which one is it? Can't tell. Oh, I have to sew it. At least I can see this dark pink thread. She says. So I'm just going to sew it down through there, and I'm going to put the two threads together and just do a little hand tied knot at the end to give that top bit of the pocket just a little bit of extra stability, because if you think about where you're putting your hand in and out of a pocket, that's the bit where it rips, isn't it? So I'm just going to tack over. I can see through this pocket, so I'm just going to tack over where that edge is one more time and then tie it off, so it's really nice and secure. There we go, see, nice and neat, but that's nice and strong now. Forgot some pockets. Now what I've got to do with this is sew it around as well, because she said it's easier to sew it around the edges on the two bits and then sew it onto the base. So no, it's tacked in place for that. Then you sew it onto the base. Oh, okay. Sorry, I've gone a bit off screen there, haven't I? So there's one. Now this one is supposed to have 3 pockets. I don't know if I want 3 pockets. Do I want 3 pockets? I think 1 pocket in the middle. Actually, yeah. Okay. 3 pockets, but if I do, instead of doing 3 equal pockets, because I don't have a use for pockets that small, 2 pockets, I don't have anything to put in pockets that big. But if I put a pen pocket in the middle here, it means I've got somewhere to put my fountain pen inside my bag as opposed to outside it, where it's a little bit safer. So let's put that there, like, come on, like that. Okay, so I need to make I don't need pens, I can score it. The dots go in a straight line, which is handy. I'll do that one there. This side it's going to go there, which is about there. Okay. Does that make sense what I'm doing? I'm doing a little slim pocket in the middle of 2 slightly wider pockets, so that I've got somewhere to put my fountain pen on the inside. I know there's pen holders on the outside, but my fountain pen, I don't want it to keep falling out or anything like that, so I would rather have it on the inside where it's safe. So I'm going to stitch this in there, like that. Oh. Then this side, do the same thing again. Bit not straight, whoops. Needle's a bit blunt. Have to relegate this one to the paper bin. Okay. Same again. Turn the machine off. One. You're still talking about food. Cody, why don't you start a like vegan type card? There's plenty of vegans on the board. They'll all be able to tell you how to make stuff without dairy in it. Give you some more ideas. Put it in the Hufflepuff kitchen. If vegan cooking doesn't come under kitchen witchery, I don't know what does. Okay, so that pocket is going to be on the inside for my fountain pen of the day, or whatever I'm using. Yay! Alright, let's check the instructions again. Baste the seam allowance, yeah, I've done that. Exterior base. Oh yeah, I remember. We got to sew the top pocket to the middle pocket and then baste the whole thing to the back pocket, base. Okay, I remember. See, this is why we have instructions. So that's the two inside pockets, those are done. I need more coffee. Yeah, you're a kitchen witch, Gwen. I'm surprised you haven't found the Hufflepuff Lounge. You could be writing an entire book in there by now. So there's my two back pockets. Sorry, did I show you what I was doing? Ugh. So that's one with a fountain pen pocket. And then the other one is two pockets. So they're sewn down the middle. But then the outside, so as not to create extra bulk, I haven't sewn them, I've tacked them. So eventually we'll have a front and a back, an inside and an outside like this, and then we'll sew those two together, or baste those two together as well, and then we'll sew it all to the band. So that's how it works. If you've watched Becca's tutorial, it's so simple. I mean, it really is simple. You just got to follow what she tells you to do, and do it in reasonable order. Okay, let's pop you there so I don't lose you. Maddie, are you coming back in? No, it's Boo. What are you doing, Boo? Are you just hovering? I can hear you tip-tapping behind you. Oh, you're not? It's not you? Oh, okay. He just barked at me from the other side of the room. It's not him. It's Maddie tip-tapping. Okay. What's the matter? Do you need to go potty? Do you need a break? You need a potty break? Yeah, it's potty break time. Go make a coffee, guys. Back in a sec. His Lordship has pooped. Oh, Maddie has decided she doesn't want to sit under there. Okay. Now, the front pocket is a little bit complicated. It's a little bit more brain power than I'm prepared for right now. So, front pleated pocket. Front flat pocket. So that goes behind that one. They're almost the same height. Why are they almost the same height? Why are they exactly the same height? Surely they shouldn't be the same height. Front flat pocket. Have I got them mixed up? Is that why? No, it can't be because these are bigger. Back pocket. Interior flat. Oh! Not back as in front and back of the pouch. Front and back of the pockets. Back pocket. Front pocket. Will you stop? Go in or go out, but stop messing. Ugh. Back pocket at front base. Back pocket front. Front pocket front. And this one is longer, remember, because we're going to concertina this one up to make the pockets. Got it. I've moved off camera again. Sorry, guys. So, we're not doing that bit yet. It's a bit too much brain power, that one. I have my patterns here for the front and back pockets. So the exterior back, basted and stitch, and then baste it all together. No, stitch and then baste it all together. Baste and then stitch it all together. Okay, gotcha. All right. My brain hurts. Although this is not as hard as working out the pattern last week. I left my glasses outside. Poo bags. Do I need them? Might be okay actually. I'm not having to read anything at the moment, so. Alright, so this is getting stitched down the middle, because this is the outside pocket, and that's literally just going to get stitched down the middle. So I reckon we can just pin that bit and go for it. Pin. Pin. Pencil. Okay, let's line this up with the base so that I've got the other check mark. There you go. There we go. See? And now, if we draw a line between those two check marks. Ooh, that pocket's really wonky. Whoops. There. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so what we're doing now is sewing these two together to create the frontmost back pocket. So on the back you've got a big pocket with Velcro. You've got two little pockets, flat pockets. We're making the two flat pockets. You got to stitch this before you sew it all together around the hems. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. But this is basically the same as doing the inside pockets. My pedal's a bit stiff. I think it needs oiling. And repeat. Oh, I just threaded this with black and I need it for... sewing this first. Oh, Maddie, you're such a snorty pig dog. You make such snorty noises. That doesn't cut very well. It makes the ends fuzzy, which means you don't get a nice clean edge to cut them in, to sew in. You don't have to do this. Becca didn't do it on hers. Oh, whoops. Oh, there we go. But I'm quite heavy-handed with pockets. And I know if this works out, it's going to Courtney. So she's pretty heavy-handed with pockets. And if she doesn't want it, she's got permission to give it to her boo, her little girl. So she's pretty heavy-handed with pockets as well. So let's make sure the pockets are good and stiff, shall we? I can't see through this fabric, so I'm going to have to do this one from the outside. Ooh, didn't realise I was going to need a thimble for this. I have a thimble, but it's over there and I'm too lazy to go and get it. But I need my glasses in a minute, so I'll pick it up when I go and get my glasses. Here endeth Aquarian logic. Skoo, why are you tip-tapping? Well, some of the sewing isn't very straight, but I'm a beginner at sewing on a sewing machine, so I'm not, you know, straight is one of the hardest things to do. So, but neat, we've managed. And I'm quite happy with neat, but slightly wonky. And we've got contrast stitching somehow. I don't know how we've managed to get contrast stitching. I think all of my thread is slightly lighter than the fabric. Shush! So we're ending up with contrast stitching, even though I didn't plan it. Okay, now we get to pin this bit. Scooby, you have literally just come in. You cannot possibly need to go out again. It's not possible. Okay, so let's try and guess the front and back. I think that side looks a bit more like the front, maybe. Yeah. Line up the Jim Jams. And pin it. And tack it. So it's all quite repetitive. If you do the inside pockets first, because you're not going to really see the inside pockets pretty much at all. It doesn't really matter if they're slightly not straight or slightly wonky or whatever. It gives you kind of a run up at doing the outside pockets, which is a little bit more tricky. I mean, it's basically the same thing, but you're trying a bit harder to make it look nice. I am anyway. I don't remember if she basted the front and back together or if she pinned it. Oh. But I'm tempted to base it because of I keep sticking myself with damn pins. It's what I do. Sharp objects and clumsy people do not go well together. And because we've got a 1/2 inch of a seam allowance, it doesn't really matter that these are very slightly off or anything like that. These pockets are slanted anyway because I messed it up. I don't think it matters. Make it really wonky and then it looks like it's supposed to be like that. It looks like a design feature. It's not a bug, it's a feature, right? So there's the back pocket. So if you're going to put Velcro, it goes in this one, right? And you've got 2 pockets there, which will be completed when we sew down that seam. So that goes with let me think. The back is where I would put my fountain pen. So I think that is going to be the back inside pocket. So those 2 go together like that. And that goes with that. We have a back. We have a back. The back is done. The back is done. I'm sorry, I'm excited, okay? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sides to do. Front, back, top and bottom. And we've got one done. Ba-ba. I'm excited, okay? I'm excited. This chalk will rub off, by the way. I've just got to erase it. Just take an eraser, rub it off. Rub it off, rub it off. That's not the words. We've got a back. We've got a back. Ooh, we've got a back. We've done the back. Ooh, ooh. Okay, now we've got to do the front. Now the front is a touch more complicated. Just a touch more complicated. But I'm going to do this before I do the zip, because although the zip is complicated, I know what I'm doing with fitting the zip. I know how to fit a zip by hand. Therefore, I can fit a zip on a sewing machine. It's just the sewing machine part that's going to be tricky. So I'm not bothered about doing that bit. This bit, very tricky. Because what we've got to do, okay, we've got to sew this here, and I think halfway, and then you've got like little concertina pockets at the end, like 3 pockets at the end. So we're going to make that fit into there for a start. Okay. Doing box pleats. Now I've done box pleats before, but these are reverse box pleats because they come out rather than going in. So that's okay, that shouldn't be a problem. However, this has an extra layer of a pocket here. There's a pocket in this bit. This is not one big pocket. This has a pocket halfway. So we've got to be very careful about which layers we have in which bits of the pocket and where, because we've got to do them in a certain order. Otherwise we'll have, because you can't stitch, if you stitch that to there all the way round and then you try to stitch this, it's going to go through all 3 layers, right? So you've got to do it in the right way. You've got to do it in the right order. But I think there's an easier way to do it than the way she did it. So I'm just going to double check. I think there's an easier way. Okay, the front pocket. There's a halfway pocket, and then you sew that bit to there and that bit to there. And baste that to there. Okay, so the problem she had was if you do all the sewing on the front pocket, you then can't get into here to do the sewing on the back pocket. And if you do the sewing on the back pocket, you then can't get back over here to do the sewing on this pocket, but you can. Because what she did was baste it all down first. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it this way. Because I always think, working with box pleats, it's easier to start at the middle and work outwards. So I'm going to do what I would do if I was hand sewing it. She worked left to right, you see. A lefty would work right to left. But a hand sewer always starts in the middle. And I'm a hand sewer, so I'm going to start in the middle. Because I think then I can still do the outside pockets. I've just got to bend the base back out of the way so I don't sew it into the 3rd layer. So we sew that pocket, that anchors it, so you now don't need to baste the whole thing around the edges. And then you put this on, and all you do is you simply unpin this and clip this back out of the way, so you're only sewing through 2 layers. That's how I'm going to do it, because to me that makes more sense than what her method was completely logical for a right-handed machine sewer. But for an arse backwards left-handed beginner sewer who stitches by hand normally, this is going to be easier, I think. So this is the middle pocket of the back layer of the front pocket. I know. And I'm going to do the finishing on this pocket, because then that means that pocket is done and dusted, and I don't have to think about anything else to do with this particular pocket other than not sewing it onto the other pocket accidentally. I'm not sewing the base onto the other pocket accidentally. I hope that makes sense for the people who are following along, but it's similar to, you know, when I do the book binding, the 3, and everybody else starts at one end and goes down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and I don't. I start in the middle and I go down and round, and then I go back and go down and round. Same thing. It's simpler, I think, for a beginner to follow. So I'm going to do it my way. If I tried to do it her way, I think I'd get completely stuck. But because I know what I've got to do, I can make up my own way of doing it. Okay, I can't see a damn thing. I'm going to go and get my glasses. And I'll pick up my thimble on the way. Hi, baby. Aha! There we go. Machine. Oh. Thank you. Little tip for you that I got from Bernadette Banner, because it's always made me wonder how on earth you forget thimble to fit. Depending on whether you sew correctly, pushing your needle with your middle finger as you're supposed to, or whether you learnt the more modern way of sewing with the ring finger, whichever finger you put your thimble on, it shouldn't fall off. But it also shouldn't hurt. Bum, bum, bum. Also, little tip I got from my gran, if you put a bit of, and using a thimble when you're sewing, but if you have long nails, short long nails, natural long nails, which I don't at the moment because I've cut mine off, but if you put a bit of padding in the end, you'll be able to get a little bit, actually I can feel it, where there's a groove that my nail fits down into when I put my thimble on. So you won't be putting extra pressure on your nail, you'll be pushing with the pad of your finger. There you go. And I got that little tip. My gran used to tell me about putting wadding in, because she was like me, she always had nails that were slightly longer than flat. But the tip about how to get a thimble that fits, got that from Bernadette Banner. She's an awesome seamstress, by the way. I've lost my needle and I need to find that before I do anything. There it is. We're always very careful. I know I'm a bit anal about needles and pins and stuff, but that's because of the animals. I remember the days of going to visit my gran and spent on a Sunday morning after church and spending ages with a little magnetic tin that my granddad made me, picking up all the glass-headed pins off the Axminster carpet because she couldn't see them. They didn't have any pets, so they weren't bothered, and they wore shoes in the house, so it didn't bother her. But those of us who had to sit on the floor because there weren't enough sofa chairs, it bothered us, and it kept us busy while the old people talked. Sorry, I keep going off camera. I don't have enough. Is anyone where to do GTD stuff? GTD? Do you mean GTD as in getting things done? Okay, so that's that pocket done. We don't need to worry about that pocket anymore. Who is it? There's somebody like Brandy. I want to say Brandy Norris, but I don't know if that's her. Her name's Brandy and she's got a brown Filofax. She does GTD. Carrie has done GTD hybrid, the Stephen what's-his-face technique previously, so she's got videos labelled GTD, Carrie Harling. Miss Vicky B did a basic intro to GTD many years ago, and somebody else does it. I want to say the Pencil Diaries. The Pencil Diaries, Documented Journey, Pen and Quill. It's one of those girls, one of the Asian girls always does GTD. And she does a beginning of the week setup and a midweek check-in every week on camera and walks you through everything she's doing, and she's got all the checklists and everything. But I cannot remember her name. I want to say Pen and Quill, but it's one of that group. But if you just search GTD and then something like Traveler's Notebook or Filofax or something like that, you'll nearly always get one of the female planner community girls. I don't know of any guys who do it who are actually in the planner community, but I don't know many guys in the planner community. I don't think John Traverso uses it. I don't think Kent from Oz uses it. He's a tick list man. I don't think Steve from Filofax uses GTD. Yeah. You learnt the hard way about buying a plastic ruler that's printed on and not etched. Oh yeah. Always buy one that's printed on, or that has printing on both sides, like this one. Because it'll rub off. Also, I always go for a ruler that starts at 0 on the edge, because this bit always disappears. Even here, the first 4mm, you can't see the first 4mm, but I know that the edge of the ruler starts here. Always use a quilting ruler. This used to have a lovely metallic band on it as well for cutting edge, as a cutting edge, because you could use it with a rotary cutter. But unfortunately, the metal strip came off and I couldn't get it to stick back on again. And because of that, I've now lost it. I'd like to find another one like this with the silver intact, with the metal edge intact, actually, because it would be really useful. Okay, now what we've got to do with this, and please bear in mind this is me muddling through making this myself, having watched Becca's video about 6 months ago and then rewatched it last week after I did the sewing on the first bit, after I did the cutting out. I know in theory what I have to do, and I know that to do it I have to not have the base layer included. So when we sew this side, we're going to have the base layer over this side, okay, and sew the front pocket on, and then we do this side and we're going to have the base layer over there and sew the front pocket on. And then once we've got it all sewn together and we do the outside, we put the base layer back in. But there's less pockets on this side and more pockets on this side. So I believe it's thirds and then 1, 2, 3 on the last one. But I need to double check that. Let's put my sewing needle away. Don't need that in a moment. Oops. Alrighty, here we go. Here we go. So let's start at this end and pin that out of the way. So we're just sewing the front pocket onto the middle, the back front pocket. Oh, you know what I mean. Let's line it up on the edge. Oops. Line it up on the edge. That bit's getting in the way. That's why I can't get it straight. And I think what she did was sew down this edge first. And then she marked 3. Let me just double check. Okay, so this is my here's my drawing, because I'm a drawing girl. Okay, so that's what you do. Oh, she basted that down. Okay, she basted that together with the 3 layers, but I don't want to baste it with the 3 layers. I'm just going to do it with the 2. So she did the halfway pocket. Oh, I remember what she did. I remember. 3.5 and 3. She marked it 1 inch marks. I remember. Here we go. We're cooking with gas now. So we've got on this piece, this front piece here. Oh, look, I've got little marks on here. Huh, I've got measurements on here, look. We did not know that. I might have to put some ink on those so they stand out a bit better. Ha! Okay, so we've got a 1/2 inch allowance here on this bit. Let's line this up here and line that up there. And then we can line that up there, and that's our 1/2 inch allowance. So there's our 1/2 inch. There's 11. And then she marked 10, 9, and 8. So that's the 2 1/2 inches. But I think she did it on this. I think she did it on here. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Okay, let's do that again. Belay that, belay that. 1/2 inch. 11. Snake eyes. 10. 9. 8. That's the 3 1-inch pockets, and then this should be, so we've got a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then this should be, I need an even number to count from, 2 to 6.5. Yeah, 3 and 3.5. 3.5 and 3.5. Okay, so it's 1/2 an inch there to the middle, and then 1, 2.5. It's 2.5. She was doing the big one. This is the small one. Okay, one more go. Here we go. 1/2 an inch. 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1/2 an inch seam allowance. Now what I'm doing is questioning whether I need that many pockets on the front. Has anybody got a small Delfonics? Has it got 1 pocket and then 3 pen pockets? Or has it got 2 pockets and 3 pen pockets like the medium one? Because she was sewing the medium one, but this is the small one. Should we just look on Amazon? Amazon is your friend. Delfonics. Small. Delginics? That's not Delginics. Delfonics. Medium. Size small. Here we go. Oh, the size small has 2 pockets and 1 pen pocket. Okay. So it's actually got 1 pen pocket and 2 small pockets. I think I'd rather have 3 pen pockets and 1 big pocket. It's not for me, it's for somebody else. I won't be keeping it. Okay, let's assume that she's cut the size of the pattern on the little one. No, because it's not the same pattern. It's not the same pattern. You add extra to the other one. Let's assume that she's measured this out to match what this should be. So actually, there isn't an extra line on that back pocket there, but I think it looks better with a big thing on it. So this one's going to go there, that one's going to go there. Okay, let me just recalibrate. So we need to start this end. That pocket is right, that's going to be 1 inch. Let's look at the red one. It's easy. Ah, there we go. The red one's easier to see because it's got stuff in it. Pen pocket, regular pocket, regular pocket. Okay, so it looks like they've done a 1 inch pocket there, which is the size for the pen pocket, and then they've just put this in half. But then the back pocket, it isn't actually divided in half. Okay, I got it. I've got it. Okay, so 1/2 inch seam allowance, 1 inch pen pocket, half-inch seam allowance, whatever is halfway between those two. So 2 to 8.5. It's always got to be odd, hasn't it? Let's move it to 1/4. There we go. Now we can find the middle. So 1, 2, 5. Okay, so 2 1/4, 1 3/4, 2, 5. So we've got different size pockets on the front. So we've got 2 big pockets, 2 smaller pockets, and a pen pocket. Done it. Okay. And I'm assuming that this piece is measured correctly to do that. So let me just double check what did she do with how. 3 times 1, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to start from the other end because that's where the small pocket is. Because these are bucket pockets, they're not just flat pockets. I'm going to pin this back out the way. My brain feels like it's doing gymnastics. I looked at GTD once and I said, hang on a minute, you want me to write out 8 lists and set up 47 folders? And I laughed and I laughed. All right, this is going to be... She actually basted this on that pocket. So that's where the pocket is going to be sewn. Ugh, my brain hurts now. That's where the line is supposed to be to sew it, because she's got a 1/2 inch seam allowance, but I wouldn't sew it that wide. This makes no sense. So I'm going to I'm just trying to decide if I want to account for a 1/2 inch seam allowance or not, because that will decide whether I'm basting on this side or that side. You know what? I've got some chunky pens that don't fit in regular pockets. I'm going to go for a chunky pen pocket on the outside. So I'm going to baste this along where her seam edge is and then sew it in between the two. So technically, no longer following the pattern. However, in my defence, I don't need to follow the pattern, because she does say set up the pockets however you want to set up the pockets, but this is basically how you do it. So I'm just going to sew it along that line and baste it all together on that edge, but only to the front. Only to the pocket, not to the whole base. I'm not including the base in any of this stitching. Because the frontest most front pocket is not sewn in any way, shape or form to the backest most back pocket until you actually sew it all together at the end. Let's just tuck that out of the way. Okay, so that's where we're eventually going to sew the edge seam when we put it all together. Then we've got the 1 pocket, the 1 inch pocket, and what we've got to do is take 1.5 of the front and sew it to 1 inch at the back, and we've got to overlap it by 1/4 inch in the seam. So 1.5 there. Let's do it top and bottom, because I don't trust myself to sew in a straight line. Me and straight lines, we don't go together very well. Let's pin all this together out of the way. So 1/2 inch. There's our 1/2 inch line, the 1 inch at the back, 1.5 inches at the front. So we've got to sew my brain hurts. Hi Deb. This is so backwards to what I'm used to doing. We've got to sew that bit to that bit. So that line there is getting lined up with that line there. And that line there is getting lined up with that line there. Let's, can I clip that out of the way? Oh, I can, look at that. There we go. If I fold that over, I can clip that out of the way. So I can now sew in a straight line. There we go. From that line there. Should we just score a line? I mean, it is out on the front. It is right where you're going to see it. So let's do a straight line, shall we? Let's at least pretend to do a straight line. Here we go. So that's going on. Let's shift it to the left. So number 7. And then I can put the line through that little line there. So the line will go through that split in the foot. Where's my pedal gone? There we go. Forward. Forward. Okay. Needle. Thin bubble. So it's going down here like that. Oh, we got a whole crisscross of stitching going on here. Look at this. Okay, when you're doing contrast stitching, maybe stick to having it go one way because this is a bit crisscrossy. But I'm not intentionally doing crisscross stitching. When you hold this material up to the thread, the top thread that I'm using, it actually does look exactly the same colour. It's only when you sew it that it looks completely different. Straight in inverted commas, absolutely. I'm taking marginally more care to try to get it straight-ish than I did on the inside pockets where you can't see what's going on anyway. Because it doesn't really matter as long as they're mostly straight. But I guess the pleated ones at the front that you can actually see and our design features, maybe take a little bit more care. Okay, so I'm just doing the same with this as I did with the others, just extra securing that pocket there. Ooh, 3 layers is tricky to sew through of this. Oh, it's going to be so much fun when I have to do 3 layers plus the inside 2 layers plus the back layer. I don't know how I'm going to get that edge piece on. That might be next week's session. In fact, doing zip might be next week's session because I'm still doing pockets. I don't know if I'm going to have the patience to do a zip once I finish this bit. Again, this is the bit that's going to take most of the strain when things are pulling in and out of these pockets. That's why I'm doing this extra little bit of tacking. Plus it'll hold down these bits inside that's not fully sewn down. le pocket on the front. Le done. Now, what happens is when we tack this, you'll sew it straight down there, but this bit will be folded over a little bit onto, and kind of gets a 1/4 inch French hem there when you baste it down, and also on this side you'll have a 1/4 inch French hem on this side. So this will make a little pleat here as well, like that. Those will get sewn down. See how you've got a little pleat in there? Those will get sewn together, and then you've got bucket pockets. See? Box pleats I can do. Box pleats I understand. Now what we need to do, we've sewn the one this side. We need to get the base layer out of the way because we don't want to sew to the base layer yet. That's getting out of the way there. On this side. And we need to sew, sorry, we need to tack this edge onto this edge. There. And then we have to sew the middle point here. So there's my, is that my middle point? Yes, it is. That's my middle point on that one. So I need the middle point on the top layer from where it's stitched here to that line there. So 1/2 inch seam allowance, move that to 1 inch. My top is at 9.5, which is 8.5, which is, nope, let's move it to the 1/4. So we'll do the quarters, there we go. We'll do it like that. We'll start at 1/4. So the halfway is going to be 4.5. Oh no, flipping no. Let's do the whole thing. Okay, so the whole thing is 9.25. What's half of, no, it's not half of it, because we've got half of 8 3/4 is 4 and a bit, isn't it? 4 and 1/8. There we go. Four and 1/8. No. That way. There we go. 1/2 inch. Take off the 1/2 inch. 4 and 1/8. See, I don't do maths. I can cut things in half, but I can't do maths. Half I can manage. So this bit, oh, I didn't mark that one. So this bit is 3 1/4 from the 1/2 inch. So we've got the 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then we've got 3 1/4. That's on the back bit of the pocket, so we don't need to mark that all the way along, we just need to line these two up with it. So there's my halfway pocket. That's what's going to divide the front piece into two. That's my 1/2 inch seam allowance for the body, which is the bit we're going to tack again in a minute. And now we need to line up these bits on this line with these bits on this other line down here, which is there, and let me just use my needle a second, there and there. again, I'm going to clip that bit out of the way. Make sure the bottom is lined up correctly. Pin. Pin. There we go. So, again, I've got my needle on the left, so I can thread this line through the hole. There's like a L-shaped hole in the needle. I don't know if you can see that. Just here, there's an L-shaped hole in the needle. And I'm feeding the white line through the stem of the L-shaped hole. It just makes it easier to see what I'm doing. Forwards. Backwards. Sliding. Let's pop another pin in this end. Skip, why are you tip tapping? What's wrong with you? Okay. Forward. Forward. Okay. We're getting there, guys. Is this even vaguely interesting? Well, you're all still here, so I guess it must be at least entertaining. Okay, sew that down. Shh. Scoob, settle down, babe. Well, I know Maddie's hogging the chair, but just deal, mate. If she doesn't want to snuggle with you, she doesn't want to snuggle with you. What can I tell you? Poor Scooby. He loves Maddie so much, and she's like, he's a stinky boy, Mum, make him go away. Some puppy will be having a birthday in 2 weeks. Not 2 weeks today, it's on the Tuesday. Yeah, Scooby-Doo. He's a 2009 boy, so he'll be 11. Sorry, I'm losing the ability to thread needles. My hands are getting tired. There we go. You're more productive when you're watching somebody else do something productive. Oh, me too. That's why I spend most of my life watching YouTube videos. I don't even watch them with sound on half the time. unless it's just a talkie video. But there are certain people whose voice I can't listen to and that I find distracting, and some people I can. Like Sylvia Wright, I could listen to her all day. She's just got one of those voices that's not intrusive. Mitts, the same. I could listen to her all day. But Courtney, if I'm watching one of Courtney's Patreon videos, I've got to be watching one of Courtney's Patreon videos and listening to what she's saying. Because I can't cut her voice out from what I'm doing. So I have to be doing something artistic as opposed to trying to write words. But if I'm writing words and listening to Sylvia, her voice is just like a second background noise. I can tune it out if I need to, but I can still hear what she's saying. But Courtney, can't tune her out. Oh, come on! Get in the goddamn hole, please. Scoob. She doesn't want to sit with you. Deal with it. Can't get OBS to detect your third display. I can get it to detect my third camera, but I can't get it to switch it on. So I have a similar problem. But with cameras instead of displays. Are you choosing the right scene? Like, is it an image capture or a video capture or a display capture? Because I can get it to capture 3 video images, but one of them is blank. But I can tell it to connect 2 video images and a display image from the screen, and it's not blank. If that makes sense. You've got to make sure you've got the right scene. Scoob! Stop! Come on! Settle down, dude. Settle down. I cannot think with your crazy noise going on. Alright, so now we have... One bucket pocket. Whoa! So that bit will go like that on there. And that bit will go like that on there. And then we have... buckets! Ah! I'm sorry, I'm really excited. Okay. Deal with it. Now, I need to baste this pocket down. I'm not sewing this one down yet. Again, if you've just joined us, I am doing part 2, which is the sewing portion of the Grain Creatives Delfonics Dupes tutorial. I want to see if a beginner like me can do it. It's hard work, but it's working. I do not have a basting stitch on my machine, so I'm not using a basting stitch. I'm hand tacking, which I'm actually happier with doing. So this bit just gets lined up here. And because I'm probably not going to use the full 1/2 inch, I'm going to baste along the 1/2 inch line. Let's turn that the other way, because I know I'm going to stab myself with that at some point. So there's my 1/2 inch line. Tack it. The pockets are going to be the hardest bit to stitch because that's 1, 2, 3, 4. By the time you put on the back, that's 5. Then you've got an inside pocket, that's 6. And then you've got the same again on the back. That's 12 layers of fabric you're going through. No, you're not sewing front to back. You're sewing, no, 6, 8. It's 8 layers of fabric. Because the strap around the middle is 2 layers. So you got 6 layers here and 2 layers on the strap. So it's 8 layers of fabric to sew through. We're gonna need a bigger boat. And I'm making sure when I tack it that I'm not, because I'm just using a running stitch, it'd be easy to gather it up like that. That's what you do with the gathered waist, FYI. But I'm just making sure that I hold the fabric flat and pull the thread taut there. And then I'm going to sew this bit up into the pocket as well, like I did on the other side, so it's not sticking out anywhere and it's easy to find to remove later. Okay, there we go. So now it's starting to look like a pouch. So excited. So this bit and this bit, these bits have little bits that are going to be tacked in. So I'm just going to fold that little bit there to the middle, and then I'm going to do the same on this side to about the same width. I need some thread. Before I do that, I need some thread. Scoob, you're annoying. What's the matter, dude? You've got food, you've been out. Maddie does not want to snuggle with you, okay? So just sit yourself down. Do you want to sit in there? By me? I know what's wrong with him. He wants to go and sit on my bed, but he's not allowed to go and sit on my bed because Maddie keeps peeing on my bed. So nobody's allowed to go on the bed unsupervised. Fun fact, that's a misquote. Oh yeah, it's part of the whole Mandela effect, isn't it? It's like it's not Luke, I am your father, or whatever. Now, I know from sewing pockets previously that these are pigs to get to actually stay where you want them to be while you sew them. So I'm going to tack the pockets down as well, so that when I come to do the outside bit, these aren't going to give me a problem, because it's going to be hard enough to get them through the machine, okay, without having to worry about whether they're actually the right width and everything. So I'm sewing my pockets down, a little bit of tacking. Again, inside where I'm going to be sewing. Actually, that would make quite a nice little design feature, wouldn't it? To just do a little bit of crisscross sewing on those pockets. So there's one. I'm not making it exact, I'm just roughly doing it. As long as it's a little zigzag, it's okay. So there's that little zigzag. Whoops. And then these, I believe, just get sewn flat, if I remember correctly, because these will automatically stick out because they've been sewn flat. Yes, these will automatically be stuck out, but this is going to bug me, so I'm going to do this bit one as well on this corner, just so it lies flat. My seam allowance is actually going to be a little bit further out than that, so I can make it a little bit smaller. Should have done this before I basted it down. There we go. So I'm just catching that. So when I sew the bottom seam, these will get sewn down, but they won't get sewn into the side seams in any way, shape or form. I've done box pleats before by hand, and I've always stitched them down like this because it makes life so much easier not to have pins in anything. I think when Becca did hers, she just... Oh, that's too far down. Never mind. Move it up here. I think she just concertinaed hers as she sewed, but for a beginner, that is a lot of finagling. It's going to be hard enough to do these corners without having to stitch in a box pleat as well. Let's not make life any harder than it needs to be, because those corners don't look like they're going to be fun. Okay, so there's that box pleat there. I don't think the other one needs a box pleat particularly. I think it will be okay as it is, just flat, because it's going to stick out over the side of the bag anyway, and it's not as big as this one anyway. So, and now I know there's a lot of hand sewing in this bit today, but you know, I managed to stitch it down through all the layers on this one. Never mind, just cut it, it'll be fine. Just don't pull the stitches out. It's gonna all get basted together anyway. Okay, so that's the back. That's the front. Wow! We have a front. We have a front. We've got a front. Ooh, ooh, we've got a front. We've got a front. We've got a front. It is the front. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So this front piece, because it's sewn on all these bits of pockets, it really only needs the edge pieces here tacked down again. So I'm just going to go over what I just did, but this time I'm just going to include the back piece as well. So I'll go diagonally across that pocket to hold down the box pleat, and then just nip up here. Tack down that pocket there. Like that. And across. And boom. done. And now the end is near. We've reached the final pocket. Ba-bum, ba-ba-bum, da-da-da. Honestly, after doing this concertina pocket, putting in the zip is going to be child's play. Oh, man. So again, I'm just tacking the back onto the rest of everything we've got now. Just pinning it all down so we don't need to use pins, because pins are going to be a pain in the backside. And all this black stitching is going to be really easy to just pull out when we're done. We've got a front, we've got a front, we've got a front, we've got a back, we've got a front, we've got a front, we've got a back, we've got a back. I didn't tack on the back. Oh, poo bags. I didn't tack that bit onto there. That was the whole point. That was what I needed to do with that bit as well. Was to tack that bit onto there as well. You know what? I'm just going to pin it. I think that'll be alright with just to put a couple of pins in it. Stick a couple of pins in the middle and be done with it. And so I don't stick my hand on them, I'm going to put them inside the pockets. Like that. And like that. There we go. Now they won't get caught on anything. We've got a front. Doesn't it look cool? Come on. It looks so cool. Oh, I've got a pin in there as well. Is that? Oh, that is that. That's that pin. Okay. We've got a pocket for a pencil. We've got a pocket with a bucket. We've got a pocket with a bucket. We got another pocket here and another pocket here. Do 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 do. And they can't go all the way around across because I've got two pins there, but that's okay. Pins won't be staying. The pins are not a permanent feature. The front is done. The back is done. Do do do. I'm so excited. Actually, it's going to look really nice. I've got to say, it's going to look really cool. Why did my back... Oh, because they're not lined up. That's okay. That's what it's going to look like. Woo! Looking good. Okay, where's my pink clip? Let's clip you to there. Like that. Now we get to do the zip. The zip's the easy part. Okay, so we got these two bits left. So this is the bottom, which is just going to get sewn onto that bit. Just need to tack this into place, which I'm not going to do on camera. You've seen me tacking things. You don't need to see me do it again. These are the bits for the zip. This is where we have to pay attention to what we're doing, because we've got to sew it inside out, and then we've got to top stitch it the right way around. So in theory this sounds like the hardest bit, but for me it's the easiest bit because it makes sense to me to sew it inside out. Okay, now I'm going to do something that you would normally do. Normally when you're sewing a zip onto something, you do it that way, right? But as a lefty, it's easier for me to sew it left-handed. And Courtney's a lefty, So it will be easier for her to use it if it's left-handed. So I'm going to sew it left-handed. Now for this bit it doesn't actually matter because it's the same and same. But once we actually pin it to the other bit, I'm going to have to work out which way I'm going to sew it. That's going to be easiest, and then I'll have to work out which way the zip's going to sit. Alright, so we've got these bits here, and basically these bits are going to get cut off, these bits on the end of each zip. Now her zip was a lot longer. She said she had a 14-inch zip. This is a 14-inch zip. This is a lot longer. So I don't really know how she ended up with that. But I might not cut this off. I might just leave it, to be honest. I might just sew it in. If I just sew it in there and sew it in there, that's going to be Bob's your uncle, isn't it? Okay, so we need the front and the back of each bit of fabric. There's the, I'm going to say that's the front. And that's the front. Ooh. So one side at a time, so we'll put those bits under there. So the zip is going to look like that. Okay. So if you're sewing along with me, pay attention. So the zip is going to actually look like that when we're finished, but we need a fold here to make it nice and neat, right? So we're actually going to sew it that way. So the stitch is on the inside. So we're going to pin this equal with that length. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. So we need to sew it back to back again. So that way, there. All right? So we're putting all three bits together, wrong side, right sides, correct sides, outsides towards the zip. And I'm going to use the edge of my end of my zip as a starting point because the first ½ inch is going to be sewn in, which will stop the zip coming apart. So I'm going to pin it on the side that's not going to be sewn because there's not enough room to pin it the side that I am going to. So I'm going to sew this side, but I'm pinning it here. Okay, and all I'm doing is pinning it so that these three edges line up. So correct sides towards the zip with the external fabric facing, or the zippy bit, the zippy piece facing the external fabric. Now we're going to check this in a second. Yeah, it's customized. It's a left-handed Delfonics pouch. You'll love it. I'm going to make mine left-handed as well because I always unzip that way too. I mean, it doesn't really matter because there's pockets on both sides, but if you have a front, it's going to be the side with the pouches, isn't it? So we might as well do it so the zip goes that way. Okay, now let's test. When we sew it, oh, I need to pin it on the right side to be able to test it. Okay, so when we open it up, that bit will be like that with a hem. That's correct. And on the inside, this bit will look like that with a hem. That's how it should look. So that is correct. And we can now sew our zip in place. I'm going to put another one on the end here. Now when we get to the end of the zip, that's going to be a little bit tricky because the head of the zip is going to get in the way, but do not worry about that part. We'll get there in a minute. Okay. And then this bit here will go. Now instead of putting a pin lengthways, I want to make sure that I don't go all the way up here because I want to be able to open the zipper. So I'm actually going to pin it acrossways just here. Okay? Actually no, I'll put my clip in it. That'd be better. So when I get to the clip, I need to undo the zip and adjust. Okay? So let's do it once more with feeling, eh? So we're going to straight stitch. Now this needs to be a good solid stitch because you don't want this starting to come apart. So I'm going to use a size 4 stitch, 7, 6, 5, 4. It's hard to tell the difference between 3 and 4 on this machine. And rather than trying to gauge where everything is at, I'm going to feel underneath here and pop my fingers down there. I can feel where the edge of the zip is, and I'm just going to line the foot up with the edge of the zip. So the zip is literally sitting like this. Okay, and I'm just going to hold it there and keep it in line with that zip all the way down. This way just a tiny bit. I think my needle is not very sharp anymore and I probably need to change it. Oops. Something's stuck under my pedal. Oh, the dog's bed is stuck under the pedal. Reverse. Woo. Okay. Maybe not that fast, okay? I can feel where the zip is. I'm just literally running the edge of the foot along where the zip is. This is why I like a big chunky zip. Can't do this with a tiny little dainty metal zip or one of those hidden zips. It doesn't work. But a big chunky zip like this, run it right along that chunky edge like that. And on my biased thread is slipping again. I might end up with an ugly crease on this side because that pink fabric on the inside is slipping. Okay, so now we're at this bit. I'm going to take this bit off, and I do this. I've got the foot down and I've got the needle down. Okay, always have the needle down if you're moving the stuff around because then the needle holds the fabric in place. I'm going to take this pin out and this pin out. I'll flip this up and I'm going to undo the zip. You can't get it past the foot, right? That's why you keep the needle in. Lift the foot. I actually have an extra bit of space. You can actually lift my foot up a little bit further for this exact reason. Unzip the rest of the zip down like that. Puts these 3 pieces back together. Put your foot back down. As long as you keep this tight, you should be able to sew just this little bit less the edge, like that. Voila! So I told you the zip was going to be the easy bit. And you don't have to sew any ends in on your zip either, because the way it fits together, this is actually going to get sandwiched in between the other piece. So you can just cut all these ends off and not worry about it. Take your pins out. And it should be like that. See, zips are easy. Told you. Now we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. And all we've got to do is keep these bits out of the way. So we're going to pin it all together and sew it from the other side. And this bit is easier because you can see what side each bit goes. So this side, right sides together. So the right side is going to go here on the inside. So that needs to go there. Pin it on this side here, and I'm going to pin it through this other fabric on the other side, on the opposite side of the zip, so it all stays out of the way while I'm sewing. So there's my zip line, and this is all pinned out of the way. And then you take this bit, which is the right side. That looks like the right side to me. The right side goes here, like that. Line it all up at the edges. Now you can repin this through all 4 layers. Like so. Now this time I'm going to sew this edge first. So now I've got that end anchored, I'm going to start this end. And pin it. And I'm going to open the zip up a little bit to get that out of the way, so it lies flat. Come on, sit still. Stop messing with me. It's actually easier to fold it up and do it like this. Hold it upwards. Okay. Going to clip it right on the edge there, so that I can get it in the sewing machine. So where's my edge? It's there. Go, there's the edge of the zip. Let's get the needle down and secure that end. I know it looks a mess right now, but you'll see why I'm doing it like this in a minute. So we've only got down to, we're not going all the way down here, we're only going to about there. On this side. Remember, the zip's open at the moment. Okay, make sure the pin is down in the fabric. Now we're going to do the same as we did before, where we lift the foot up, lift it up a bit further, and then zip the zip back up. And then that will be all even. There we go. Oh, come on. It's harder to do this side because I'm using the wrong hand. There we go. So now that zip is... Ooh, get your foot off the accelerator, woman. Now that zip is all pinned there, we can... So the zip is now done up. It's the right width. So now we can do the rest of this bit. Pinning all that fabric out of the way. It's just a case of lining up these 3 pieces here and pulling the fabric taut. This is a very cat-handed way of doing it, but I'm a lefty. This is what you got to do when you can't sew the wrong way round. Now we can undo this piece and line this all back up. Because obviously all that doing and undoing of the zip caused a bit of slippage. And you should end up with it pretty much even on the end. It's a little bit off, but I think my cutting was a little bit off, to be honest. I don't think they're the same size to begin with. Now we can put our foot back down. It's all pinned together, I can literally push the side of the zip so that it runs along the edge of the foot. So you don't need to be able to see what you're doing or anything. Oh, see you, Sarah. Yeah, rinse and repeat, basically. You just got to be able to get past the zipper, but most people don't know that the majority of sewing machines, when you lift the foot up, that's not as high as it'll go. You can actually lift it up a bit further. Back stitch. Woo! That was a little bit crazy. Getting a bit excited there, my machine. Hey, good boy. And now, when we take the pins out, here's where the magic is. So we've got nice straight seams, and when we turn it inside out like this, there's the outside and there's the inside. Ta-da! Now what we want to do is keep these 2 bits together, so I'm going to top stitch. I can't remember if she did this or not, but I'm going to. So I'm going to just pin these bits out of the way because I'm not doing this side. Okay. And what you want to do is just get your fingers and roll your seams. If you roll your seams, you're just shifting your fabric so that it sits better on the stitching, and that means you don't have to iron it before you do this. Because why would we want to iron anything, huh? Why? So just rolling your seams and your fingers like that, and it'll make the fabric lie flat. See, no thingying required. And all I've got to do is just pin on the outest edge, most outer edge here, just to keep the edges together so that they don't buckle up and you don't want to get halfway through and find you've sewn this bit across here like that or something silly. So I'm just going to pin it out of the way. Now, do you remember way back at the beginning of this section, many, many hours ago, when we were all young, I said I deliberately bought zips that came apart because it was just so much easier. Well, I'm going to show you why that works better any minute now. Just rolling the other side of the zip. Roll both sides. Oh, I didn't quite sew to the end there. Have to make sure I catch that in. Let's just put a tack in that. I just need to didn't quite sew to the end on the top of the zip. I wonder why that is. So I'm just going to put a tack stitch under there so that I don't have to put a pin in it. Do not sew over pins. I know it's the old way of doing it, but don't do it. We've learnt a lot since the 70s, particularly in the areas of health and safety. So this bit isn't sewn all the way up. So I'm just tacking this into place on the end here. Keep the knot out from where it's going to sew anywhere. Just to hold that down while I, whoops, how did I do that? That's not what I wanted to do. I don't know how I ended up going round it, but I did. Okay. Just a tack where that stitch is supposed to go all the way up. You can take this off afterwards, nice and easy. So now we pin this side, again pulling it away from the zip, pin it all the way down. This isn't sewn all the way, so I'm not going to pull it too hard because I don't want to pull my tack stitch out, and I'm holding it with my fingers to make sure my tack stitch doesn't pull out. Okay, so remember that zip that comes apart? Told you it was easier. Okay, now what we're going to do is sew all the way down here with a straight stitch to hold this fabric down so it doesn't ruck up on itself. But it's not going to be, if we can't line it up with the zip unless we move the needle all the way over, and my needle doesn't go all the way over, it only goes to the middle. So I'm going to use a number 5 stitch which goes down the middle. I'm going to line up the pink edge with this edge here of the foot. Nope, that needs to be further over. I'm going to put it there so it goes down the middle of that hole there. That's better. Then it'll catch the zip underneath as well. So I've just scooched it over. I'm doing an 1/8 of an inch seam instead of a 1/4 of an inch seam. Let's use a number 7. That'll bring it over to the left. So we can scooch that over just a touch. There. und so. Apparently the secret to sewing in a straight line is to not go too fast. It's similar to driving actually. If you go too fast you can't go straight. Or it's harder to go straight. Again, we don't need to sew in these edges or anything because they're going to get taken off. On the original tutorial, she actually cuts the edges of her zip. All this bit she takes off. I don't think I'm going to bother because this will all get sewn in anyway. It's going to be inside the seam. And it means there's not going to be any fraying on the zip at all. I'm not worried about that little tab. It's going to get sewn about here anyway. So all this, none of this is going to be seen anyway. Sorry, I've moved the camera again, haven't I? So there's one side done. And now, because the zip is in two pieces, it means we can sew this zip from the other end. I need to move my pins over a bit. So we don't have to do that ridiculousness of having to sew the zip on the wrong side like we did the first time. Yes, that's the way I want to do it. So same again, I'm going to line it up there. Oops, I've got a foot thread caught. There we go. So the neat stitch that we're going to see, we can make sure is nice and neat and straight on the top. Just running over that bit again because that's the bit where the black tacking is, which means that's the part that wasn't sewn on the inside. So I've now sewn it on the outside as well, double, to make up for it. And now I can take this bit out. So when you do your tacking, literally all you have to do is pull your thread until it all comes out, like that. Baba. And the zip, because it's a cardigan zip, I'm so proud of myself. Dudes, I've never done this before. Never. I've sewn zips in by hand before, but look at that zip. Look at it. Look how neat that is. Look how neat and straight that zip is, dudes. Look at it. Look at it. Oh yeah. So now we've got... Oh, I can take these pins out as well because I don't need those. Now we've got a front, a back, and a top. So it's going to look like that there, and that there, and that's the front and back, front, back and top, front, back and top, front, back and top, and like I said, this zip, because it's really long, it goes down on either side, because it's like a Sydney satchel, remember, it goes down on either side, and all we've got to do is put the piece on the bottom bit to zip it all, to put it all together. I've just got to double check. I'm pretty sure, yeah, she does it on the wrong end of the zip. You do it on the wrong end of the zip here. You take these bits and you make another sandwich. So since it's the same as the zip, to just put these two bits together, that's what I'm going to do while we're thinking about it. So here's the top. Is that the right side out? Yep. So here's the top. So it's just like the zip, okay? Think of it like the zip. Here's the top bit, and we want it to fold that way. All right? So we're going to fold it. We want it to fold that way. So we're going to pin it and sew it there. So we're just going to put that in the middle. My zip's a little bit wider than hers, I think. It's more than a 1/2 inch zip, but that's okay. I'm going to pin it there. Let's just clip it now, like that. Alright, so there's one side. And then on the inside, we want it to go that way. So on the inside, we're going to pin it this way. So you make a little sandwich again, just like you did with the top of your zip. And we're going to clip that all together there. So we're folding it all that way. Again, I'm going to line all my material up with the edge of the zip because I know the edge of the zip is straight. Regardless of what any other fabric is doing, I know the edge of the zip is straight. So just line up your edges so that this edge here, so if you got rid of that fabric, these two edges would line up. Otherwise your zip won't be in the middle. So if you got rid of that bit of fabric, these two edges need to line up like that, and then you get this bit and line them up flat there. So take that bit out, they line up perfectly. Put it back in and it all lines up perfectly. Now we're going to pin this a good way in from the edge. And you've got to be careful because you're going to be sewing over the zip. Now it's a plastic zip, so it shouldn't break your foot, break your needle, but it can. And if you're using a metal zip, it definitely can. So please be really careful when you're sewing across this bit. Nice and slow. Don't be in a hurry. And if you're worried about the zip, then start there and sew outwards. Start there and sew outwards, and then sew the bit in the middle by hand. All right? I'm pretty confident my machine can do this, so I'm not too worried. We're nice and straight there. I'm just going to clip these bits together out of the way. These birdie clips are really handy when you're sewing, I'm telling you, just to clip stuff out of the way so you don't have massive lengths of material. Now this is the bottom end of the zip, and I know that there's a good 1/2 inch there that I want to avoid, so I'm going to actually put my sewing foot on the edge of that. So that's where it is. You can feel where it is with your nail, and I'm going to sit my sewing foot in line with it so it doesn't run over, so the needle doesn't run over that heaviest part of the zip. I'm going to bring it across here, drop the foot, put the needle in, and now I need to just move my pins across a little bit, because these are only stabilizing. You can see most of the material is actually under the foot already. These are just stabilizers to keep everything together. Okay, now because I've got to get across that big foot, I'm going to change to a bigger stitch. I'm going to do a 6. I'm going to lift my needle to do a 6. There's a 6. There we go. And I'm not going to back stitch. You'll see why in a second. Walk forward to the edge of my material, and instead of back stitching, I'm going to turn around. I'm going to sew right back along the other way, so it's got a double seam here. So I'm just going to literally just feed that stitch that line of stitching I've just done right back through where the needle is. Okay, that's not going to go through with the foot, so very gently walk it through. Also not going to go through. And then, because I really want this zip to stay put, do not want it to be in any way a problem, and I know that we're going to be pretty heavy handed with it. I'm going to lift my needle and walk it through just to get it back onto the edge of the fabric. There. I'm going to switch. Oops, didn't lift the needle. I'm going to switch to a small zigzag stitch, and I'm just going to sew along the edge of this line. Yeah, walk it if it gets stuck. Because it's a plastic zip, the metal needle slides around the zip as long as you go slowly. Don't do that. Okay, now that seam has a triple band on it, which should be more than enough to hold that in place pretty much forever and a day. Ooh. Well, I've got an edge I haven't pinked. Look, an edge I haven't pinked, and already I'm getting bits coming out. Scoob, what? What are you two pinning up and down for? So now when we take this out, we've now got a full bit that's going to go all the way around our pouch, and then when we finish at the end, it's going to have a bit there and a bit there, and the zip will be back here a bit and like that, and sewn in, and then it will zip up like that, and that will go around the outside of our pouch. Ta-da! Is this awesome or what? Now, the last bit we have to do, and I'm going to pink that edge that I just found that keeps fraying. Look, the one edge that I didn't remember to pink, somehow didn't remember to pink, is the one that's fraying everywhere. This is why we pink our edges when we start. I don't want to accidentally cut into that, so let's pin that out of the way. Like that. The next thing we'd have to do is to get this long band fitted to the back of the pouch, and then get it fitted to the front of the pouch. And you know what, guys? I do not have the brain power or the patience to do those corners today, because we're going to have to sew a flat piece of corner to a curved piece of corner, which means we're going to have concertina plates in the corners, which means sewing through lots of fabric. So not only do I need to be able to stitch through all the fabric, I also need to change my sewing needle, because a 70 is not gonna cut it. It's not gonna cut it, literally. There you go. Get rid of that. But the main pieces are together. I'm pretty happy with that. And it's only taken me, well, it's taken me, I guess you could say, 2 weeks. I did this last week. I did one this week, and I'm going to have to do another session next week, which is going to be the hardest bit, because it's going to be really tricky to get all that to sit together right. But 3 sessions. So a complete beginner, assuming I can get the rest of it sewn together in 3 hours, which I'm fairly sure I can. An hour and a half per side, half an hour to get it set up, or maybe 3/4 of an hour to get it set up, 3/4 of an hour to sew around it. I reckon that'll be about right. So this is what my pouch is gonna look like. And also, by doing that zigzag on the inside, I now don't have to redo that and make it go through 2 layers of fabric, 2 layers of fabric, 2 more layers of fabric, and a zip, because I don't need to top stitch this now because it's zigzagged underneath. Da, 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 da. Now, of course, if you want loops, you would have put them in here. I didn't put loops on this one. I thought loops might be a little bit too much. Plus, you can always sew loops on the outside. You don't have to sew a loop into the seam. But that is, in effect, what my little pouch is going to look like. So we're going to sew this bit up here. Scoob, quiet please. I'm going to sew this bit round here, and then that bit's going to go into there, and that's what it's going to look like. Ooh, 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 ooh. Let's do it that way. It's a bit easier to see, for example. Isn't it cute? If it wasn't red pink, I'd keep it. But it's pink, and I don't like pink. But I'm seriously considering, instead of doing it in the thin fabric, getting some of this Hessian type canvas in the black. Seriously considering the black canvas, because I really like the feel of this fabric. It's so nice. Da 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 da. Bucket pockets and all. Let's put that bit in there for the photo op. Boo boo, shush. So there we go. That's all ready for sewing. Just one more bit to go. I took a picture. Voila! That's it, guys. No more today. I'm tired. But this is what we're going to be doing next week, is putting this band on, because that's going to be the hardest part. Getting around those four corners is going to be tricky, let alone pinning it all in place. That is that. I'm going to pin it to the top here actually, because this is quite thick and this isn't, so let's pin it all up here. I'm going to keep my pattern because I can reuse that for my next one. I don't have to cut it all out again. Yes, it's got lots of holes in it, but it really doesn't matter. So what I might start doing is start cutting out the pieces for my other one that I'm going to make for myself. Because I think that would be kind of cool to have it so that as soon as I finish this one, I can just get on and sew the others together. Because I don't think it will take anywhere near as much time, because I know what I'm doing next time. It certainly won't take me nearly 3 hours to cut the damn thing out. However, we've got a medium one to make after this, so anybody's guess on that. I'm going to make sure I put all my pins away. My sewing needle is put away. Oh, that's not going to fit in there. Let's just put it on there. So I've got all the pattern pieces together. I've also got a spare bit of fabric somewhere that has a... Oh, there it is. This is a spare bit of fabric that has a salve edge, and I'm seriously considering adding... Here's what I'm thinking of doing. Should have done this before I put it all together, shouldn't I? But I'm seriously considering, before I sew all this together, adding a extra pocket on the end here. But I might have to do that by hand afterwards. I don't think I can do it as part of the thing. But if I do it by hand, all I'll do is sew down the edges of the pocket and then just stitch it on by hand. So I'll French roll the edges and stitch it. But that'll be a hand finishing bit that I'll do along with tags and things like that, because I have an idea for the tag. Because, you know, they have those little Delfonics tags on the front. Well, I have an idea for the tag, and I think I know what I'm going to do with it. Thanks for joining me, guys. See you again next week. Bye.